Hello, it's Willie from the Ozarks, and we're ready for lesson 165 in A Course in Miracles workbook for students, June the 14th. And lesson 165 is Let Me Not Deny the Thought of God. Let me not deny the thought of God. And we will read that in a moment. Before we do, let's review just briefly yesterday's lesson, 164. Now are we one with Him who is our source? Did you notice it didn't say, now am I one with my source? It said it in the plural, now are we one with Him who is our source. I wanted to draw our attention to that just for a minute to remind you that what you see in your brother and sisters, the way that you're seeing yourself. We can all get to heaven together, or we have to wait. I was going to say we don't get there at all, but we're going to get there. But we can speed it up and we can get there now when we see that our salvation is contingent on the salvation of our brothers and sisters. So we've got to see the Christ, the forgiven world in all of us. All right? So now are we one with Him who is our source? I do want to read some of Jesus' words here. It starts off, what time but now can truth be recognized? The present is the only time there is. And so today, this instant, now, we come to look upon what is forever there, not in our sight, but in the eyes of Christ. The eyes of Christ, the forgiven world, where all is beauty, where only love is, where only goodness is. Are you getting better at seeing that way? It's maybe a little unusual, breaking the habit of seeing and talking about people wrong. But you know what? In God's judgment, we're all right. We're all perfect. We're all doing exactly what we need to be doing. So we need to start learning to see it that way. See the world through the eyes of Christ. He looks past time and sees eternity as represented there. He hears the sounds the senseless, busy world engenders, yet he hears them faintly. Far beyond them all, he hears the song of heaven and the voice of God, more clear, more meaningful, more near. More near than what we see in the appearances is the sight of heaven, the voice of God. The world fades easily away before His sight. Its sounds grow dim. A melody from far beyond the world increasingly is more and more distinct. So this melody that's more and more distinct, and it's a call and a response melody. And what is the call and response? An ancient call to which He gives an ancient answer. So this call and response, this melody of heaven, it says you will recognize them both, the call and the answer. Christ, Christ gives you His sight and hears for you and answers in your name the call He hears. So Christ's sight and Christ's ears are what we're going to be able to see and hear with. How quiet is the time you give to spend with Him beyond the world. Okay, and that quietness beyond the world. Did you sense it yesterday? How easily are all your seeming sins forgot and all your sorrows unremembered. Isn't that beautiful? To unremember your sorrows. On this day is grief laid by. You should be so happy that you could let grief lay by. There is a silence into which the world cannot intrude. There's an ancient peace you carry in your heart and have not lost. There's a sense of holiness There's a sense of holiness in you the thought of sin has never touched. All this today you will remember. Yesterday, did you remember it? Faithfulness in practicing today will bring rewards so great and so completely different from all things you sought before that you will know that here your treasure is and here your rest. Isn't that beautiful? Did you do your practices? Did you spend your hopefully 15 minutes just sitting quietly? And one of the things that's happening during that 15 minutes for me, and I'm sure it'll happen for you, is that even though we're just to start the lesson by saying, now are we one with him who is our source, and allow those thoughts that you read to kind of percolate in your mind without your effort. Allow the Christ to percolate them for you and brew you something really good. This what's going to happen is all the things that you've been experiencing in the world, as you begin to let those come up, and they just will come up effortlessly, you'll look at them with the eyes of Christ now. You'll see them as a forgiven world. You'll realize that your only desire is to see the real world, the world that forgiveness offers you, the world that Christ offers you. His judgment, remember, his judgment is wholly kind, and where everyone's acquitted from any wrongdoing, atonement, that what is real cannot be threatened, and what is unreal doesn't even exist. Well, in his judgment will a world unfold in perfect innocence before your eyes. A world of perfect innocence will unfold before your eyes. Brothers, this day is sacred to the world. Your vision given you from far beyond all things within the world. Look back on them in a new light, and what you see becomes the healing and salvation of the world. The valuable and the valueless are both perceived and recognized for what they are. And what is worthy of your love receives your love, while nothing to be feared remains. That's the vision of Christ. We will not judge today. We will receive but what is given us from judgment made beyond the world. All that we see will but increase our joy because its holiness reflects our own. We stand forgiven in the sight of Christ, with all the world forgiven in our own. We stand forgiven in the sight of Christ, with all the world forgiven in our own. In our forgiveness, the whole world's forgiven. That's why the lesson today is, now are we one with him who is our source. We're going to save the world by our new perception of holiness, of what's real. Where are you going to save your brothers and sisters? By seeing them holy, like Christ sees them. And you'll save yourself in the process. What a deal. We bless the world as we behold it in the light in which our Savior looks on us, and offer it the freedom given us through his forgiving vision. Now our own. Wow, his forgiving vision is now our own. We're functioning with the Christ light in our mind. Open the curtains in your practicing by merely letting go all things you think you want. Whoa. Let go all things you think you want. Your trifling treasures put away, and leave a clean and open space within your mind where Christ can come and offer you the treasure of salvation. He has need of your most holy mind to save the world. So be a little less sure about what you really want. Allow in that silence what comes up to lead you and guide you the forgiven world, the Christ. You'll be shown what to desire. Matter of fact, we're going to learn that in our next lesson. We're to desire. We'll get to it in a moment. Let's look at that last paragraph. Is not this purpose worthy to be yours, to save the world? Is not Christ's vision worthy to be sought above the world's unsatisfying goals? Let not today slip by without the gifts it holds for you receiving your consent and your acceptance. Did you accept that? Did you receive that gift? You can change the world if you acknowledge them. You may not see the value your acceptance gives the world, but this you surely want. You can exchange all suffering for joy this very day. Practice in earnest, and the gift is yours. Wow. Did you practice in earnest? Was the gift yours? Did you receive it? If not, before you go on to the next lesson, pause this recording and take a minute. Take 15 minutes and just be still and quiet and receive God's answer, His gift of a forgiven world. All right. Hey, I guess I want to show you. Okay, remember this was the Queen Anne's lace. I wanted to compare it, well, they're both in bloom right now, with poisonous hemlock, which, you see, the flowers are somewhat similar. Even the leaves are somewhat similar. And I don't want you to get confused and think you're picking wild carrot, which is Queen Anne's lace over here, and really be getting poison hemlock. It can be fatal. It says that it affects the nervous system in such a way that it can cause respiratory failure and death. So I think that's when I hear that they administered to Socrates to kill him, if I understand right. But see, the leaf is this is the leaf of the Queen Anne's lace, which has lots of healing properties. It's relative to the carrot. And another white flower that's in bloom right now, we showed you last week, is the yarrow. Now it's a much different flower. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of show you the poisonous hemlock. And to my surprise, there's actually medical uses for it that some people have found it can be used for. I don't want to get into those. I just didn't want you to accidentally pick poisonous hemlock and think that you were picking Queen Anne's lace. So, of course, yarrow, it's valuable. I eat it all the time when I see it. All right, a little bitter, but anyway, but remember, the Queen Anne's lace, something else I noticed about Queen Anne's lace, it has a hollow stem. I don't know if that's a for sure identification difference, but this head is real compact on the Queen Anne's lace, where on the hemlock it's much more, it's still white, but it's not so compact. The leaves are fairly similar. They're a little different. Hollow stem. There's a little red tint. If you look closely on most of it, this doesn't have it here at the tip, but it's there's little bits of red. You can't hardly see it on this one. I'm trying to pull it out where you can see a little bit. As it gets more mature down here, a little bit of red in the stem. So anyway, just don't make a mistake and get, a lot of herbs have ones that are similar to them. You want to be really proficient at identifying and have someone help you learn. All right, let's go to lesson 165. Let not my mind deny the thought of God. What makes the world seem real except your own denial of the truth which lies beyond? What but your thoughts of misery and death obscure the perfect happiness and the eternal life your Father wills for you? And what could hide what cannot be concealed except illusions? Or except illusion? What could keep from you what you already have except your choice to see it not, denying it is there? 2. The thought of God created you. It left you not, nor have you ever been apart from it an instant. It belongs to you. By it you live. It is your source of life, holding you one with it. And everything is one with you because it left you not. The thought of God protects you, cares for you, makes soft your resting place, and smooths your way, lighting your mind with happiness and love. Eternity and everlasting life shine in your mind because the thought of God has left you not and still abides with you. Isn't that wonderful? The thought of God has left you not and still abides with you. 3. Who would deny his safety and his peace, his joy, his healing, and his peace of mind, his quiet rest, his calm awakening, if he but recognized where they abide? Let's read that again. Who would deny his safety and his peace, his joy, his healing, and his peace of mind, his quiet rest, his calm awakening, if he but recognized where they abide? Would he not instantly prepare to go where they are found, abandoning all else as worthless in comparison with them? And having found them, would he not make sure they stay with him and he remains with them? 4. Deny not heaven. Deny not heaven. Remember, we don't have to die. We realize we have everlasting life now. So now let's not need a near-death experience to remember who we are and to live our life abundantly. Let's learn it with the practicing, which is such a small amount we have to offer that we need to do. You know, our let's call it 15 minutes twice a day, and it could be as little as 5. But let's call it 15 minutes twice a day, and then maybe a minute every hour of the day to remember the lesson. Let not my mind deny the thought of God for today. So that's not asking much. Deny not heaven. It is yours today, but for the asking. Nor need you perceive how great the gift, how changed your mind will be before it comes to you. Ask to receive, and it is given you. Ask to receive, and it is given you. Conviction lies within it. Till you welcome it as yours, uncertainty remains. Yet God is fair. Sureness is not required to receive what only your acceptance can bestow. So what do we need to do? Ask with desire. Can we emphasize that? I mentioned it in our review for yesterday. Ask with desire. It's the desire that's the real prayer. It's what are we desiring? The trinkets of the world, the little things that we want to let go of that aren't bringing us real joy? Or the vision of Christ that brings us everything? The forgiven world. Ask with desire. You need not be sure that you request the only thing you want. But when you have received, you will be sure you have the treasure you have always sought. What would you then exchange it for? What would induce you now to let it fade away from your ecstatic vision? For this sight proves that you have exchanged your blindness for the seeing eyes of Christ. Your mind has come to lay aside denial and accept the thought of God as its inheritance. 6. Now is all doubting past, the journey's end made certain, and salvation given you. Now is Christ's power in your mind to heal as you were healed. For now you are among the saviors of the world. Your destiny lies there and nowhere else. Would God consent to let his Son remain forever starved by his denial of the nourishment he needs to live? Your Heavenly Father gives you the bread that some know not of. Remember how Jesus talked about the bread that the disciples knew not of? Well, Jesus knew it. He's trying to let us receive it, this nourishment. Abundance dwells in him, and deprivation cannot cut him off from God's sustaining love and from his home. And the last paragraph. Practice today in hope. Okay, we're going to practice in hope, and we're going to ask with desire. Practice with hope, for hope indeed is justified. Your doubts are meaningless, for God is certain, and the thought of him is never absent. Sureness must abide within you who are host to him. This course removes all doubts which you have interposed between him and your certainty of him. Like I said, you don't need a near-death experience or some kind of out-of-the-body experience. You can get it in this course with these simple meditations. This is a scientific way to reach peace, to reach selfhood, to reach happiness. We count on God and not upon ourselves to give us certainty. And in his name we practice as his word directs we do. His sureness lies beyond our every doubt. His love remains beyond our every fear. The thought of him is still beyond all dreams and in our minds according to his will. So I might add that even though it may not be at this point in time scientifically verifiable, you'll be able to verify it. And this is a very thought out by Jesus way to reach peace, which is the only thing we really want. So until tomorrow, practice well. Let not my mind deny the thought of God. Let not my mind deny the thought of God.